like the vision I have in my head is that you've got chaos going on in your world, and it's just a chaotic picture. You step through the door and the door shuts, and then all of a sudden everything's calm, it's quiet and relaxed, and you can just get on with what you want to do.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Make Things Better podcast. Today I have Neal Byers on the show. He is the owner of Workfromhub, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Workfromhub and how that all came about today. So welcome on, Neal. How are you doing today?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, I've had a good week. It's Friday, the sun's shining, the wind isn't blowing, so yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to hear, and it is nice to actually have a bit of warmth, because I think today was the first time I've been outside, and I know this sounds crazy, but I actually walked outside with just my top on for a little while, like nothing else. Usually I'm wrapped up in about 7 layers. So yeah, it's all good. So I wanted to ask you first of all, how did Workfromhub actually come about? Like, how did that actually start?
Yeah, and it's been, I guess, in my mind for a long time. So a lot of my background is in transport planning and helping people understand what cities will look like in the future. And almost the starting point of transport planning is reducing the need to travel, so stop people having the need to move around, so that you can free up space for everybody else who needs it, and that means you don't need to build as much infrastructure. So that was always part of my profession and what I did. And then as I moved to being independent, there was this opportunity to actually deliver something myself and step into and deliver a service. It's something I've always wanted to do, is have my own product or my own service. And COVID hit, and everybody all of a sudden was working from home. And what I kind of noticed was that remote working had happened in offices already. People are already communicating through kind of Skype and things like that, as it was at the time, and that was changing all the time. All of a sudden everybody was working at home, and all the technology just went forward massively, so quickly. Zoom, Teams, everybody all of a sudden knew how to log on. They didn't know how to unmute themselves, but everybody knew how to log on. So I just saw this opportunity to say, wait a second, working from home kind of works, but it doesn't work all the time. And my experience of cafes and co-working spaces, they're like amazing places to work from, but not when you just need to get your head down and do something. So it just seemed like there was this thing that was missing from the world, about somewhere where you could go and just be really focused. And that kind of combining my kind of expertise and just wanting to create something myself, it was the opportunity to create Workfromhub and deliver something in the real world that says, that's mine, that's my idea.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I think one thing that's really nice about the hubs is that you don't have as much background noise and as much like distractions as well, because I've worked in a lot of cafes. I find it hard to work just in my like bedroom the whole time. Like, I just live in a studio, and it's like quite difficult to concentrate just, you know, in 4 walls, the same 4 walls that you like sleep in. But in the Workfromhub, you don't have all the distractions like you could do in a cafe, as you say, especially if you're going to go in like a meeting or something, as people are often doing now because they're working remotely. So do you think this would have came about if it wasn't for the pandemic?
I think it was happening. I think it's just the scale and the pace of it has changed massively. So I think people, particularly people who have big offices, have already been looking to downsize the space that they need, and hot desking was becoming more and more of a thing, where you'd have 0.8 of a desk per person or something like that. So everybody knew that you wouldn't be in the office more of the time, and actually having a better work-life balance and well-being has become a much more important thing. Even before the pandemic hit, well-being became much more of an important issue for employers and employees. To get the best people, you need to provide the best facilities. And flexibility was always important, and now it's just gone through the roof in terms of how important it is. So I think it would have been there, but actually just the scale of change that's just been accelerated by COVID has meant that it's even more important and even more useful than it probably would have been without COVID. But the kind of foundations were already there. It just happened much more quickly.
Yeah, and where are the hubs at the moment? And do you want to tell us, actually, first of all, I probably should have asked this earlier, but like, what is Workfromhub?
Yeah, sure. So it's basically a bookable space near to where you live, that you can go and you can work there all day, half a day, and basically just a space that's away from your home and away from your office that you can go in and just focus and get some work done. It's a place, we basically want to make remote working a happier and more fun way of working, and also somewhere where you can be more productive. So it's a space, it's about 2.2 metres squared, pretty precisely.
About 2.2 metres squared.
But it's just really comfortable. So I think one of the things that we saw when we were looking at different solutions is there's lots of almost like phone booth style things out there. And what we wanted is somewhere where you can stand up, you can stretch your legs, you can walk around a little bit, pace around if you really need to. But have a space that you're in control of, and it's just calm. Like the vision I have in my head is that you've got chaos going on in your world, and it's just a chaotic picture. You step through the door, and the door shuts, and then all of a sudden everything's calm, it's quiet and relaxed, and you can just get on with what you want to do. And that's what we're trying to create with Workfromhub, where you can just take all the chaos out of your day, come and work in our space for as long as you need it, and just have a good day, and then get back to the chaos and whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah, so I tried out a hub a couple of weeks ago, and I've got to admit, the kind of thing that came to my mind was a little bit like I'd been transported away into like a spaceship. That's the kind of feel I had when I went in, and that it was quite nice. It is something very unique and quite different. And do you want to tell us a little bit about the kind of transport side of it all and how that kind of comes into the locations that you're placing these hubs, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So one of the things that was really important to us is that we attract people out of their bedrooms and kitchen tables and things like that, but into neighbourhoods and communities and facilities that haven't been used. And a key part of that was around attracting people back to public transport by locating the hubs near public transport facilities like train stations and suburban interchanges and park and rides and things like that. So massive spaces, big car parks that are just empty because nobody's using them anymore. And what we wanted to do is just totally reimagine what happens with those spaces, but make sure we locate what we do near other things that people want to use. So public transport interchanges, cafes, shops, leisure centres, those kind of opportunities where you want to do some work, but you also need to do something else. So trying to find those locations that are near to where people live and near to other facilities so that you're out of your home space or out of that kind of environment and back into still where you live, but not in your home. And it's finding those places that have that kind of availability for you. So you can do more than one thing in one place, but you've got somewhere to go to be productive. And it's finding that balance that's really important for us.
Yeah, and I think that is quite important to kind of get people out into the local communities, because you could, go and work in a hub and then you'd have to probably have your lunch if you was out all day. So then you'd maybe go somewhere local and grab a bite to eat or whatever, and you're still outside the house, but you're away from the office, which is going to be needed now for a lot of people. So it's really important stuff. So obviously we had like the pandemic, and you'd probably been thinking about this idea for a little while, but was there any like moment where you were like, okay, I'm definitely going to do this? Like,
yeah, I think it was probably the new year. So it was when was it? 2020. So end of 2019, start 2020. Starting a new year, thinking, what am I going to make of this year? I think that was probably it. An idea kicks around your head, and it's just like, right, this year I'm going to do something that I've not done before. So the year before, set up independently. The next year, set up Workfromhub as a second business. So yeah, it was that almost attacking the new year with something new kind of moment, and bringing it to life. And it was just an idea kicking around my head. Then it was probably a PowerPoint presentation, just trying to get ideas down and say, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And then it probably took until the summer until we actually had a real hub in the real world. And that was amazing. That moment where we had a real thing that landed, it used to be in here, then it was on a PowerPoint presentation, and now it's a real thing. That was amazing.
Yeah. Have you faced any challenges throughout the pandemic in terms of setting the business up?
I guess not really, or not obviously, because the nature of the business being remote is part of what we do. So it kind of lends itself, and we're used to working remotely and using this kind of technology and facilities. I guess not being able to get the team together on a regular basis was a bit limiting. So we created the team from scratch. So it started with just me, and now we've got 2 graduates working in the business, and it took probably for 4 or 5 months for me to be able to meet the graduates face to face, which as a leader it worked and it was okay, but actually having a bit of time in real life like we are now, it made a massive difference. So that was probably the trickiest thing. And also working with Hive, we didn't really meet you guys until quite a long time into the pandemic. So it works remotely because a lot of the stuff we were doing was kind of tech and app based. So a lot of that is done online and that's the way to work. But actually sometimes just meeting and being able to scribble on a board and get ideas out quickly works a lot better in person. Yeah,
absolutely. And what's your long-term vision for Workfromhub then?
Oh, it's going to be everywhere. The story I'm going to tell myself is that it's the new BT phone box. So it will be not necessarily on every street corner, but you'll know that it's everywhere. You'll recognise it and you'll be able to get it anywhere. And it will always be the brand that people recognise as creating these spaces. So yeah, that's where it's going to be.
So you think you'll grow outside of the UK then over the next few years?
Yeah,
is that the plan?
I think the thing that we recognise is that the problem we're solving isn't a UK problem; it's a people problem. Everybody who works in an office that can work remotely will be experiencing exactly the same challenges no matter where you live. There'll be different challenges in different places. So one of the things that we want to do is connect with our communities and neighbourhoods. And every time we move to even within the UK, that community, that neighbourhood will be different. It will have different opportunities and challenges. So we can't just go into every single place and say, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and do it the same every single time. Some things will always need to be the same so people can recognise it, but it's understanding what that place needs as much as what we do and making sure we fit those things together. So particularly as we go into other countries, that will create some interesting challenges that we probably haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's really exciting to hear. And I think it is something that's definitely really scalable. I can't imagine this being around the world because it fills a need that a lot of people are going to have, and that need's only going to increase as more and more companies do choose to go completely remote, right?
Yeah. I mean, we read a report the other day, and it's I think 10% of the jobs put out were fully remote, which is crazy. I mean, we're moving back into being able to work in offices and getting back to kind of more like full occupancy, or people can do that, but people aren't choosing to do that, and employers are responding to it as well. So yeah, it's a time where we kind of know that everything's changed and we don't quite know how it's going to settle down, and that's an opportunity for us to just shape what that looks like by providing a different solution to people and almost creating that behaviour rather than just waiting for it to settle down and working with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any plans for your next hubs? Obviously, we have one at Sheffield Interchange at the moment.
Yeah, so we're just in discussions to get 3 additional locations in South Yorkshire, pretty close to getting that done. And they'll be opening in time for the launch of the app in April. So we've got 2 really exciting things happening this year. So that's going to be really cool to kind of bring those 2 things together and genuinely start creating a network of hubs. And putting them near communities as well. So the interchange is fantastic because it's right in the heart of the city. It's a great location for us, but we also want to be near to where people live. So the other locations are out in communities and out in interchanges and park and rides where they can connect with other opportunities and things as well. So yeah, some exciting news on that, and we'll be putting various things out as we go and we get more things agreed, and probably some hubs landing, and we lots of pictures and things like that we'll be showing people. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, sounds like exciting times. It must be quite like an exciting time for you right now, starting off this business that you've probably wanted to do for a long time, and it just sounds like it's kind of growing from strength to strength, right?
Yeah, it definitely is, but I'm really impatient as well. So it's one of those things where it's all happening quickly, but doesn't feel like it is. And yeah, I mean, we get there and we have as many challenges as we do opportunities, and there's definitely those days where I kind of wake up and go, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like so many things that I'm doing are totally new to me, but I just speak to great people, get advice from others, and try and learn as much as I can on the way, because yeah, that is exciting to just take on a totally new challenge and see if you can make it happen.
Yeah, and even with like the technology involved, there's a lot of things there which I'm sure, well, I'm talking about me, but like I definitely have not come across a lot of the tech, so I don't know if you have before, but when I was looking at all the tech being used, there's about 8 or 9 different different platforms that Hive are using to integrate some of the technology to make these hubs work. So is some of that quite new to you as well?
Totally new. Yeah, and that's why kind of the team at Hive have been amazing, because the kind of advice that I get is I wouldn't be able to. I mean, I can Google it for ages, and I would probably never find the right answer. So yeah, it's been really good, and being able to rely on people to be able to bring skills to the team and help us do stuff is amazing. I mean, there was a fun point, I think, before our first pilot, where I had a router and an access point and a satellite in my office, and I don't think I'd ever played with that kind of hardware before. So I had 3 manuals open and Google trying to figure out how to make all these things talk to each other. And I just thought, what am I doing? I don't know about this stuff. I know it, I can probably figure it out. I'll probably read everything logically and figure it out, but what am I doing? I just need to speak to somebody who knows how to do this stuff. And I did, and it worked. So yeah, there's moments like that when you try and do everything yourself and then go, yeah, I should probably get somebody who knows how to do this to do it instead. So yeah, those kind of lessons are always good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to finish on that note, because I'm sure like everyone at Hive's been really grateful to be involved in this project. I think we've loved the whole collaboration as well. So my final question, and this is one that I ask I think every guest, is it's a bit more obscure and you can interpret it how you like, but what can people do to make things better?
What can people do to make things better? I think look out for each other. I think that's the thing that you notice more and more. You know, it kind of links back to kind of working from home and people being a bit more isolated than they have been before, and just asking people if they're okay and asking them twice, because usually the first answer is yeah or something kind of vague, but actually trying to really find out if people are okay and supporting them where you can, I think is really important. So I think that's being inquisitive and trying to find out about people is really important, and that's how you make things better, by really understanding what's going on and really understand not just the problems but the challenge, the opportunities as well, because there's always ways to help people in a positive way. So I think that's the important thing to do.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Neal. It's been great having you. Where can people find you and Workfromhub?
Yeah, so we're on LinkedIn, Workfromhub or workfromhub.co.uk. Follow us, follow me as well. You'll find me on LinkedIn. These are probably the best places to find us.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I hope everyone watching or listening has enjoyed this podcast, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.